안녕하세요. 마스터 코스 베이직 코스 디렉터를 맡고 있는 임세용 원장입니다.
Hello, this is Master Course Director Im Se-ung. Today I'm going to talk about Austin implant component and its systems. So Austin implant largely has one body and two body systems. So in case of two body systems, in the past they had submerged types and SS and US systems. First, TS implant is the one that is most popular and it can be used for all cases, and it can also do one stage as well as two-stage surgeries, and there are clinical convenience, and that's why it's become the most popular one. For TS system, 11 degrees of tapering is there, and also abutment, and the implant is connected as conical sealing, and it has double thread. And in case of TS system, mini and regular platform are available. In case of mini, 3.0, 3.5, and for regular from 4.0, all platforms, healing abutment or general abutment are all compatible. But for mini and regular lines, it's all different. Healing abutment and abutment, they are all different. It's because diameters are different. More recently, 3.0 line has been added, and the mini implant is mostly used for anterior region. For 0.0 and 7.0, it's not implant that are used routinely. 5.0, if there is a failure, it's not very stable, then you opt for the bigger ones. In terms of length, more recently, extra short has also become available. From 4 to 6, the actual length are the same, but for 1-2 millimeters surface treatment are different. So this area can be above bone levels. So in reality, 5 and 4 millimeters of placements are possible. In case of 10 millimeters implant, this is the most popular one, and generally up to 13 millimeters are available on the market. In the past, TS2 implant was mostly used, but recently this has become the most popular one, TS3. It has the adequate tapered level, and this adequate tapering, in case of drilling, we use tapered drill, and when we placed it, tapered implant is placed, and through that we can gain adequate stability. For this implant, it's not routinely used because it has a strong tapering, so it has stronger stability. So if the bone quality is bad in the maxillary area, and for selective cases, we can use this. For TS system, in case of bone quality is bad, or we had a wide GBL, like using cover screw, you can submerge, and healing abutment can be connected for also one-stage surgery. Recently available KS system, it looks very similar to TS, but what is different is tapered area. I said 11 degrees, but for KS, it's 15 degrees. So 15 degrees tapering means that for TS implant, the tapering is stronger, meaning that in this area, it's thicker. So in terms of the posterior, you could have more resistance of the implant. So, but the basic structure are very much the same. KS, unlike the TS, all the platforms are same. So mini and regular do have and share platforms. It doesn't have different lengths. And TS and for KS, structurally uniqueness is this tapered area. So KS has stronger taper. So this wall thickness is compared to 11 degrees. KS can be thicker. So in terms of the osseo integration, it can be more stable, especially on the posterior side. For SS system, personally, I prefer actually and like this system because SS system basically has 1.8 to 0.84 height, so it cannot be submerged. It always needs to be non-submerged. So you can only do one stage surgery. Tissue level, it needs to be placed at that level. It has limited usage. So SS you cannot use in the anterior region, and also the osseo space. If it's not sufficient, then also it cannot be used. However, I said I like SS system. The biggest reason of that is it has structural stability. So in the posterior area, single implant, especially if you have strong occlusal force, then sometimes there could be mechanical problem. But for SS, this structure is very stable. So for the posterior single placement, my first choice is wide neck SS system, and a long term in terms of prognosis, gingival reaction, prosthetical complication probability is less. So if you take advantage of SS system, I think it can guarantee long-term stability. So for an posterior single 5.0 wide net fixture is what I mostly offer at my clinic. So in terms of length, you have from 6 millimeters available and up to generally 13 millimeters. Again, recently, 3-line adequate tapered systems is easier in terms of placement. Now for SS system, you don't place it on the bone level. If you place it on the bone level, then this polished surface does not integrate with the bone. So there is no reason to go deep. If you inevitably have to go deep, then you should not opt for SS system, rather use TS system. So generally, if it's not surface treated and this borderline where it's surface treatment different, then bone level or slightly by 0.1 going depth. So that is how you depth control. So you have this type of system available. For me, if I use 2.8, then this margin is on the gingival level. So so it can maintain the gingiva health, but it's can be suppressed or on EQ level, so it's not aesthetically. So recently I use more 1.8 and 8 for wide neck, especially 1.8. So sometimes margin could be on a sub level, but recently patient even posterior area, they want aesthetics, and to minimize black triangle, I opt for more 1.8 rather than 2.8. So I think the strength of SS system is that connection stability is the biggest advantage. Now for the US system, implant system, it's a design based on brand mark system, and again the US system is very similar to TS. It can be submerged as well as non-submerged, so one stage or two stage surgeries are all possible. And here US system also, the butt has butt joint structure, so there's no sink down. If it's submerged time with the occlusal force, it can go sink down, but it has more structural stability for US system because surface meets surface. But it's not really popular these days because clinically there's a lot of incompleteness. You have to put on impression coping and healing up when you connect healing abutment. Second surgery surgery compared to submerged type. It takes longer in terms of surgery time. And the biggest disadvantage is that if you go a bit deep, the sothalization, where the bone melts up to the first level, can sometimes happen. That's why it has become not so popular anymore. So mini, regular, wide, the platforms available, and because there are different platforms, you need to find the matching abutment and healing abutment. Generally, again, 10 millimeters are the most popular ones. And again, 3 lineups are the ones that are most popular. 1-stage, 2-stage surgery, again, are all possible.
3 라인업이 제일 많이 사용된다고 볼 수 있습니다. 1스테이지, 2스테이지 테스트는 똑같이 다 가능합니다.
A bit different characteristics of implant. This is one body implant. And this one body implant is mostly used for the mandibular anterior region. Besides this area, I do not believe has indication. So sometimes on the lateral incisor on the upper area you place it, but here the angle is different. The placement angle and abutment angle needs to be different, but on here abutment angle cannot be adjusted. So sometimes you place it, and when you create prosthesis on the buccal area, prosthesis cannot be made sometimes. So because there is that chance on the mandibular side, can go up straight. So on the mandibular anterior side, you use this system. Now, it can only do 1-stage surgery, and for MS implant, when you place, the most important thing is stability. You have to have at least have a stability at 30 newtons, because in the MS system, immediate temporary is placed on the same day. But if the stability force is low, then you cannot do immediate placement. So when you do placement, 30 newton, from 20 to 30 newtons are something that you need to surgically secure. And it cannot bend, as I told you. So besides mandible anterior area, I do not recommend using this system. Gingiva height, clinically use mostly 2.5, diameter from 2 to 3 are available, but for me, I mostly opt for 3.0. Sometimes at our clinic, one body implant breaks, and patient comes in because of that. And when I get referral of those cases, it's really challenging, because for one body implant, it's very hard to remove. So with the trapping bar, you have to all remove the bones, but the mandibular anterior area buccal width is not sufficient. So sometimes it can result in bone defect. So if possible for me, considering this type of future possibility of fractures, I do not recommend using 2.0 as the final system. So here, if we compared all these systems, for TS and KS, 1 to 2, going a bit back would be recommendation. SS, non-surface area, solid area, and this borderline, you have to put it on the EQ level. And for the US, there could be boneless, hence it's better not to go too deep. So in other words, SS, TS, and US, these are 3 big groups, and for TS and KS, they are like very similar, like brothers. And my recommendation would be, first, before placement, what implant you are going to use, you have to make that decision first, beforehand. So you have to do surgery. The bone quality is not very good. So then it's very hard to gain 20 newtons, or you have to do a GBR or sinus grafts. Then stability will be hard to gain, and you might have to go submerged. Then SS would be no option. So TS3, TS4, something that you could use. So if all the conditions same, any implant would do. But for the posterior single implant, TS4 is my recommendation. So especially if occlusive force is really strong for number 6 and 7, SS, I do believe, has structural stability. Therefore, long-term, it can be more successful. But if there's not much of a space on the posterior, and especially on the upper 7 has come down, then from soft tissue to the opposing teeth, the distance, if it's less than 6 millimeters, then in the case, if you place SS system, then it will result in failure. You need at least 1.8 and 2.8 on the upper area gingiva to create prosthesis for SS system. So you might not have space, and then you have to do endo, or you have to do some other treatment later on. Then you have trouble with the patient. So if there's not much of space on the posterior AR, SS should not be US. You should at least use TS and US. And the aesthetic area, no TS, and also no US, because on the anterior you go deep, and with the US there could be bone loss. So again, TS will be your first choice. And in case of bar over a denture, you don't really use that much, but sometimes you do. So it's about linking 4 to 6 implant. Then TS, it says internal type, so it's very hard to connect. Of course, TS with the converter abutment, you can change into external type, but you don't really have to do that. So from the beginning, it's better to go prosthetically speaking with the US. In this case, there are various systems that I opted for. Now, on the posterior single, my first choice is 5.0 wide neck implant. And this is more long-term stability. As for number 6 and 7, residual bone was about 1 to 2 millimeters. So for this area, TS4 compared to 3 has more taper, so you can have more stability. So here, you could use TS4, but in most cases, TS3 are my routine go-to implant. With that, today I talked about various Osten implant systems, its own advantages, so I would recommend using them based on the indications. I hope next time we can see face to face and maybe do hands-on together, and also see my videos, then you will be able to understand this better. I hope this lecture has been useful to you. Thank you very much.